Y'all ready for Fossil?
Come on.
All right. So before we start, I have a really important message to deliver. And we're already going off script here, but it's Stephanie's birthday.
Thank you.
And we did get you a little something.
Shut up.
Oh, sorry. Knocked me
Is
out.
there champagne in here?
So the bag is from Movable Ink, but the 2 bottles of champagne are from your account team, so you know what's up.
Thank you, guys.
All right, so let's get things cooking here. So I'm Liz. I've been at Movable Ink for the last 5 years, and I actually met Stephanie when she was a client at Michael's. So Stephanie and I have known each other for quite some time, right? Yeah, and basically Fossil signed on last September with us. They are quickly approaching their 1 year, and the theme of today is first year success.
Yep.
And Stephanie's basically gonna show off today how she did it and give you all the tips and tricks.
Yep.
Okay, so Stephanie, are you ready for all my questions today?
Let's do it.
I'm feeling like Andy Cohen. Okay. All right, so tell us about you and start off with your career experience.
Yeah, so I've been client side for the last 15 years, which is super exciting. I started off my career in nonprofit, so I worked for Susan G. Komen, the Breast Cancer Foundation, so I'm used to wearing a lot of pink. The cool thing about working nonprofit is that you have to be really scrappy and that you're able to work across a lot of different verticals. So I've done direct mail, email, text, social, digital, e-commerce, back-end site management. I was a scrum master, we did everything. After Komen, I was there for 9.5 years. I went to Michael's, which is where we met. So at Michael's, I led our digital teams and our CRM teams. There's a lot of Michael's alumni here, and I think there's some here in the room, so I'm excited to see you guys. So at Michael's, we spent a lot of time talking about the right amount of Google or googly eyes and glitter that we had to include in creative, true story. And that was where I first introduced to Movable Ink. And then a year ago, 2 days ago, I moved to Fossil. So I just had my 1 year anniversary at Fossil. We've been celebrating all kinds of things this week.
Yes.
And yeah, so we brought Movable Ink to Fossil, and it's been pretty great.
Amazing. And you worked at some impressive brands, but tell us more about the Fossil group.
Yeah, so at Fossil, we believe that fashion and technology should go hand in hand or wrist in wrist. I could not help myself. So Fossil, we have multiple owned brands. So I oversee all of our Fossil owned brands for North America. That's Fossil, Fossil Outlet, Michelle, Zodiac, Scoggin, and Watch Nation. And then we have a litany of licensed brands, some of which are included on the screen. So there's probably quite a few in here that are either wearing a Fossil watch or are wearing a Fossil owned watch, and you don't even realize it.
Yeah, I think that that's crazy. We had dinner like 2 months ago in Dallas, and Stephanie was saying like Kate Spade, which I'm wearing today, is a Fossil watch. Michael Kors, you would never know this, right? So they're pretty big.
Yep.
Awesome. Can you tell us more about your team structure and how you guys are set up?
Yeah, so my team at Fossil has gone through a transformation over the last year, and I have someone here from my Fossil team who can definitely attest to that. She's probably had a voodoo doll with my face on it at some point in the last year.
No.
Apologies, Amy Kate. But when I got to Fossil, one of the reasons that I came to Fossil was that they talked a lot about this digital transformation that they were going through. They were investing in technology and people, and that was something that was really important to me as I continued to grow my career. So when I got to Fossil, I quickly realized that the things that we wanted to do, we didn't have the tech or the people to do it. So I made a phone call to my sales team at Movable Ink, and I said, hey, so I have a need, let's talk. And that was middle of July, and we had a contract signed by September 1st.
Crazy. I know. And we definitely feel lucky to be part of those top 2 priorities, so
Yep.
less up to that. We, the CX team, certainly assist with a lot of requests, but your team is very self-service, so I mean, Kate, cheers to you for that. How did you, teach them or encourage them to like build in the platform?
So we have Movable Ink onboarding, and we have access to Movable Ink University, which all MI clients have access to. We've made that part of our onboarding process for our team. So as a previous Movable Ink client, I knew the power of the tool, and I hyped up my team before we'd even signed the contract. And the day the contract was signed, I think I signed out all 3 licenses of Movable Ink University. And I mean, I was in the tool building, the rest of my team was there, and we kind of dual pathed with our account team and my team. So we made it work for us.
Perfect. Before diving into the use cases, what were some of those challenges that you experienced in your first year at Fossil?
Yeah, so beyond staffing and feeding the content machine, which is a problem that a lot of retailers have, Fossil was onboarding a CDP, so they use Amperity, and there was a lot of energy around segmentation and personalization, and we used Amperity at Michael's. So I was like, okay, yeah, let's do this. But I knew that there were a lot of customer attributes that we wanted to pull through with some of the use cases that we had identified for our rollout, and we had a pretty aggressive plan. So we worked with our data team, our tech team, our implementation team to say, okay, I'm gonna need this data to come through in this specific way. It'll need to be tagged this way, so that will flow through the logic that we're trying to build.
Right. And how else are you defining success? Is it clicks, conversions, a medley of automation? Tell us more about that.
Yeah, well, it's money. I think every retailer would say that. But no, seriously, so as an omni-channel retailer, email drives 15% of our D2C for fossil.com. So my #1 goal for us is to increase conversions. So we're looking at CVR, AOV, repeat purchases. Are people moving up or down or out within our churn tiers? Are they moving up or down within our customer lifetime personas that we've created? So we're looking at a list of KPIs on top of email engagement, right? So click rate. And I will say we don't look at open rate anymore. Okay. We've been calling it a trash metric. So we just did that from the beginning. That's not something that we factor in.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Upon joining Fossil, what was the first use case you prioritized?
Yeah, so kudos to my account team because we came in with a really aggressive plan. I had 5 use cases that I wanted us to implement from day 1. And they were like, okay, slow it down. We can do 3. And I said, how about we do 4? We ended up doing 5. But the first one that we did, we tasked them with doing our key message banner, which you see here. And you've seen a lot of brands this week talk about how they implement key message banner within their own brands. So we did the same thing. We did it specifically for abandoned cart, abandoned browse, abandoned product. So we had the Movable Ink account team focus on that build, and then my team is building out countdown banners and promo offers for Black Friday. So like I said, we signed the contract on September 15th or September 1st. We had content blocks in market by 11:15. So we were pretty quick to market.
Yeah, that's for sure. What was your methodology for measuring the effectiveness of the key messaging banner? And did you have a test plan going into it?
Yeah, so everything that we do is a 50-50 split. We're looking at hide show. We're using the optimizer tool within Movable Ink. And we have a pretty aggressive test and learn roadmap. So we test, we fail fast, we establish stat sig, did it win, did it lose, and then we scale it up.
I love that. Yeah, and Stephanie's team has been really great about sharing results with us. I think she literally handed us over a packet of what did well, what didn't do well, what was the goal. And I think when you do that with your CX team, it really helps us make the strategic recommendations. And it's been a really great partnership even just this year. So highly recommend doing that with your CX team if you are able to share the results. What are some of your other favorite campaigns?
So next slide, please.
Yes.
All right, so these are some of our favorites that we've done just in the last month or 2. So starting with our cat nav, so one of the top 5 use cases that we had, we wanted to do key message banner. We did countdown. We did retargeting based on site behaviors. So if you were looking at a smartwatch, we would retarget you with that offer the next time you opened up an email. We also did category navigation testing. So we were seeing that 30% of our clicks within an email were happening at the footer and in our footer navigation. but it wasn't sexy. And honestly, like the font was really small. It was kind of hard to find. So we wanted to see if we could infuse some more branding into that. So we did a visual category navigation test, all using Movable ink. That way I could track and retarget the clicks and the categories that they were clicking on. Visual Nav 1, so it's currently in all of our fossil emails. That was like December, January. Yeah, we launched in peak. We're crazy. But then we did some really some quick wins, like store locator. We've done countdowns in all of our limited edition collection teaser emails, right? So like you can't buy it yet, but here's a countdown to when you can get it. So we've done some cool stuff like that. Most recently, we've done win-back offer testing. So we know from our first-party data that we have 4 churn tiers within our data. In each of those churn tiers, we did an A/B test for like what's the best offer that can bring them back. So we did a mix of percentage off versus dollar versus free shipping versus GWP. So we tested into that win-back. All of it was powered by Movable ink. That way we could drop it into our existing emails. That way we didn't have to create another dedicated single send email, right? So we're all trying to like be more efficient with our creative.
Yeah.
And then finally, so we have, it's labeled as dynamic product recommendations, but internally we call it the DCE. So our dynamic content email. Danielle is probably smiling in the back because that's the same terminology, something that we implemented together at Michael's. So our DCE is super cool. It is 100% automated. It's the definition of set it and forget it, but it's personalized and it's targeted. It's pretty cool. So everything about it, the headline, the header, that's all powered by Movable ink. Our product recommendations right now, don't kill me, are Salesforce Einstein. But after what I've heard today, and I already had a DaVinci demo, I'm sure there's a way we can test out some AI product recommendations. And then underneath that, we have secondary and tertiary product stories that are based on your most recent site behaviors and or something else that you've been engaged with on the site.
Love it. Tell us more about what criteria you used to decide which use cases to launch in the first few months.
Well, like I said, we launched during peak, which I don't recommend, especially as a retailer. But it was high risk, high reward. But we were looking at, what are the most relevant base signals that we have for our customers? So if it was abandoned site or category propensity or category affinity or transactional data. So looking at those use cases, what are content blocks that I can pull in that will address some of those signals?
Got it. How was your team able to achieve those quick wins while we were working on the key messaging banner?
Oh, we just tested fast, got to stat sig even faster. We don't have a dedicated analyst on my team, which I know resources are a big constraint within a lot of marketing organizations. So we established a testing process ahead of when we launched. So we had an analyst that came in and said, okay, everything needs to be 50-50. You need to have a control. Your stat sig, you need to reach this many e-commerce transactions. You need to have this many total clicks on your site. So we were able to kind of take that and then create a formula to get to stat sig a lot quicker. And that allowed us to say, yes, no, okay, let's go do it again or go try something else.
Got it. How were you able to get that leadership buy-in and kind of take what you did, show it to your leaders, get them excited about Movable ink and what you were doing?
Yeah, so I had the advantage of being a previous Movable ink client. I honestly kind of came in like a bulldog. My first 30 days in the job, I met with everybody that I could in every department that I could, just trying to learn more about the organization. How did my CRM team interact with the analytics team, with the development team, with the merchant team, trying to find what are areas of opportunity where we can work better together. And in having these conversations, I realized that they did not have a tool to be able to scale up personalization at all. And that was why I was brought in. So I had previous success with Michael's, and so I brought that to my team. I also made my sales team work extra hard. So for people who have a guest tag on, if you're not currently a client, make your sales team work for you. kudos to Grant and Nate for putting together the ELT deck that they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I made them do the sale for me. They came in and they said, okay, look, based on your current file and your average CTR, AOV, total attributed sales, we think that you're going to see an average increase in click-through rate of X, which will translate to an average increase total sales of Y. And that return was like a $15 ROAS, $16 ROAS, which is a lot higher than most of my paid channels that I also manage. So they made it really easy for me to take that to my leadership team, and it was really hard for them to say no once they saw that return.
Absolutely. So 2 more questions for you. We're getting near the end here. What would be your one piece of advice for someone that is a new client in their first year, from your experience?
Imitation is the highest form of flattery. So personally, I've taken a lot of pictures of other speakers' presentations over the last 2 days. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. Me and Kate we're like elbowing each other, like, did you take that? Did you get that? I plan on taking those photos and sending them to my account team and saying, how can I make this work at Fossil? How can we make this work for my brand? There's quite a few times where, like, if I can tell that something is personalized just from being in the industry, I'll screenshot it, I'll send it to the team, and I'll say, this is really cool. Let's figure out how to do it. So,
yeah.
And if anyone wants to talk about something that we've done at Michael's or at Fossil, happy to chat, share our secrets. It only benefits all of us.
Love that. Okay, last one. What's next for Fossil? AI's been a big theme this week. Like, what are we thinking?
Yeah, so I think the struggle for online retailers right now is replicating the in-store shopping experience, which is something that the Dior speaker just talked about a couple minutes ago, right? So when you're buying a $6,000 watch, you're not just gonna see an ad on Instagram and be like, yep, that's for me. I mean, maybe you are, but like, I'm not in that tax bracket, so I don't know. So how do we bring that experience online? So we have virtual try-on filters where you can see the size of the watch face on your wrist. We're doing AR filters within Snapchat and TikTok where you can see one of our leather bags and you can zoom in, you can see the size, you can see the detail of like the hand-stitched leather that's really hard to get to, just within copy. So trying to replicate that experience is definitely on our list for 2023.
Sounds great. I'm really excited to partner with you on all of this.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Awesome. Well, that's all the questions that I have for you today. I hope you have a really happy birthday and have great weekend plans, and we appreciate you being here today. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.